Hi, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Q&A, our Marketing with a Book and Speech Q&A, where we look at ways to fill a pipeline with right fit prospects, those who you want. We do that with books and speaking. So that's what we talk about. I'm going to talk about a topic for 10 minutes, and then we open it up for Q&A. And any business development topic is fine for the Q&A. So you don't have to talk about what I'm talking about. Also with me is Devin our Vice President of Production. So if you want to ask those social media, book production type questions, she handles book promotion here, so she's a good person to direct that too. What I'm talking about today are 9 ways for busy business owners to write a book. There's not just one way to write a book. And for those of you who already have a book, you should be working on your next book. That's not just because I'm the book guy, though Warren Buffett said you should never ask a barber if you need a haircut. So the same thing, you should never ask a book guy if he thinks you need another book. I do believe in books as cornerstone content to build authority, and you can't spell the word authority without the word author. The author is the authority in our world, and thought leaders have multiple books. A thought leader is never one and done. But there's more than one way to get this done. Let me give you 9. One is the blog to book approach. I nicknamed this the Julia and Julia approach. That's after the woman who took Julia Child's cookbook and blogged about cooking every recipe in that cookbook. Turned into a book deal and a movie deal. But the same thing with you. You can do your blogs and transcribe them. You can do your YouTube TV show like we do, a weekly TV show. We record and we have those to transcribe. And that's how you can go in that direction. You can turn them into blogs. My blog is my Forbes.com column. So I'm paid to write 5 columns a month, and I'm very honored to do that. And I meet lots of great people. Also, I use that content for my books, for my weekly newsletter tip. I use it for my agency Rainmaker LinkedIn newsletter. So a lot of recycling going on that content. Second thing is you can co-author a book. Ken Blanchard, somebody who's been a mentor to me, and he's in the Business Book Hall of Fame for Amazon for the number of books he's sold. He's wrote The 1 Minute Manager, among others. Well, actually, he told me one day, well, Henry, I've never written a book. I said, what do you mean? You've written 60. He goes, no, I've co-authored 60. So he always gets a co-author because he says, I know what I know. I want to know what they know. The other part of that is he doubles the promotion of his books by having someone else. And they split the royalties. Ken knew long ago, and this is somebody who's sold 20 million books. So he's made $20 million in royalties, easy. And that wasn't the real money. The real money was the leadership training company he built on the backs of those books. Now, we're going to have Q&A soon. If you want to go into chat and put your name and your email address, because I really think this is about a community we're building of authors and experts helping authors and experts. So we want you to meet the other experts on the call. We want you to learn about their work, and that's going to help you in your work. So we encourage that. It's part of community building. We didn't invent this. I'm actually writing a column about how to build a community this week, and I'm quoting Hannah Roth, the scientist over at Predictive ROI. Okay, co-authoring a book. Developmental editor, working with the developmental editor. Many of you, I've been your developmental editor. So that is a co-creator. That's somebody who cares about the book like you care about the book and brainstorms ideas, gives you honest feedback on this is working, This is not working. We need to do something that works here. You can do the early riser method. I nicknamed this the Deepak Chopra approach. I booked Deepak Chopra as a speaker. In the LA Times, they had an article about how he did all his writing. If you don't know, he's very prolific. He was an MD, but also sort of brought Eastern philosophy in. Oprah, a big fan of Deepak Chopra. He gets up every morning at 4:30 and spends 2 hours writing his next book and doing his writing. Then he starts the rest, and then some meditation, and then the rest of the day. You still have to be guided by a blueprint. He's not just writing, whatever comes to mind. All of this, you need a blueprint, you need a plan, and then you're working toward the plan. Now you can hire the ghostwriter. So my nickname is Boo. I'm a ghostwriter for this one. A ghostwriter just means that your name is not going on the cover of the book. You're behind the scenes. You might get thanked as an editor, but you're doing the heavy lifting. I don't recommend it for most people. I do ghostwriting for business owners who have large companies, and it would be business malpractice for them to take the time to do a book, but they can take time to be with me, and then I write it for them and do the heavy lifting. It's 10 times more expensive than the other approaches. Interviews to book. My nickname this is the pharma CEO approach. I worked with a CEO of one of the top 10 pharma research companies in America to do a book during COVID. He was kind of busy during those days, but he wanted this book, and I said we could do it in an hour a week. The first 45 minutes, we outlined the chapter, and then he took a 15-minute walk, a hike in the woods near his house with a smartphone and recorded off the chapter notes. I transcribed that, and that's what turned into the sloppy first copy. And then from there, the magic is in the editing. Podcast to book. I alluded to this when we were talking about blogs, but go up the line to your video or your audio podcast to record that, and you can turn those into a book. I call this the Jody Katz approach. Jody is one of our authors, but 5 years ago, she created the Beauty Meets Brains podcast. Her agency in New York City helps the beauty industry. Her podcast was a labor of love, and she was interviewing leaders in the beauty field and just asking about, what were their dreams growing up, and what was their career aspirations, and how did they get where they're at. 5 years later, it's an award-winning podcast. It's really helped the agency, and we leveraged that and turned it into a book. And now she's promoting the book, and the podcast is TV, and all sorts of things going on. So there's another one. There's the workshop to book. I've done this a number of times. I call it the Tony Robbins approach. No, I didn't help Tony Robbins, but he does a lot of workshops. I've helped other people put on workshops, and we record the workshop. A 3-hour workshop can turn into a book. Not a thick book, and that's good, because if you're going after a C-level audience, they don't want to read a thick book. They don't got time for that. They want to see something they can skim on the airplane. So you can do that. The last one I call the retreats in the cabin approach. My nickname is the misery approach, after the Stephen King novel and movie. This is where you lock yourself away in a cabin and don't come out till the book's done. People have hired me to do that. I've done it for certain projects. 6 days is my max. I've done 6 days and came out with, finished work. Others I've done 3 days. And by the way, I don't go to a cabin. I go to a resort, usually by an ocean or by trees, because, hey, that's who I am. It's not a miserable experience for me, except for the fact I don't see my family. I don't shave. I probably don't shower. I'm eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm really focused to get the thing done. Again, I don't recommend it. But those are the 9 ways to write a book. Happy to talk about any of those, or any other business development question you have. Devin, why don't you take it to the Brady Bunch matrix kind of look, and you can either call my name, you can physically raise a hand, you can, if you're fancy, you can use the Zoom hand raise, and I'll look for that. Is there anybody who wanted to start off with a question today? The chair recognizes Troy. Hi, Troy. Give us just a defining sentence, not a paragraph, a sentence of who you are and what you do, and then please ask your question.
Oh yeah, I'm known as the not so boring LinkedIn guy. I'm a LinkedIn influencer, so I do a lot of conversion on that area for marketing and relationship building. Oh, and I also was on this book here, was pretty cool. The Art of Connection.
Art of Connection.
So, yeah. So that's like a Amazon bestseller. So it was pretty easy actually. It wasn't a lot of work at all. But my question is, I want to write something called like the LinkedIn Red Book, and it's a technical, so it's a lot of information. It's almost like a Bible. Do you have any recommendations? I did have a outline, but I want to have other people contribute. Then I realized it was like herding cats. So I didn't. I just stopped talking to them because it's just like it was way too much, and their opinions didn't align with what the book was made for and all that. Yeah. So what I'm thinking about is writing these chapters and then having them, put their own spin on a chapter or something like that.
So Troy, that is called an anthology. And I think that connection book you're in, you were one of many authors, and that's an anthology. And I don't recommend anthologies. Mm-hmm. We've been hired to do them, but I don't recommend them for the best thing for biz development. I think you need to be, the authority, right. The author putting that out.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't explain properly. What I want to write is a technical manual for LinkedIn.
Okay. So,
and that was just something I co-authored, and it goes along the lines of connections, that's all.
But, so the title is interesting in that there are two very famous red books. Jeffrey Gitomer has one on sales, and Harvey Pinnock has one on golf. So you're in a tradition there. So I guess I would look and see if there's something like the Little Red Book of LinkedIn to play off of that.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to not use the Little Red Book, if we're all historian buffs, it's they have in China the Little Red Book, and that was a book that was not a positive thing, and so that's why. So LinkedIn is known as for blue, and the reason I used red was it was this is totally a different color. That was it. Yeah. But I'll do my research on it.
Sure, Mao Zedong's Little Red Book is one of the. I wouldn't call it a bestseller, but I think maybe you had to buy it. But he had a market of 1 billion people for it. So kidding aside on that, but I've also seen people with other colors, so they use a color to do it. So there's a tradition in publishing about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I misspoke when I said Little Red Book.
that was a big red flag.
That was a big red flag with a yellow star on it.
Yeah. If no one knows what that is, fine. If they don't understand what that is, but I guess my question really was, is that even a good idea to write a technical, because it's like a Bible, and it's really talks about from A to Z, soup to nuts, how to create systems, how to build relationships, and all the different components for all the different systems that people can potentially drive business on LinkedIn. And part of me says, well, no one will ever read it because it's going to be too much information, and it's just too much to write, and it can't be written in a short amount of time. On the other hand, it's totally unique because not many people have a full written Bible that's soup to nuts, but I don't know.
Troy, let me do this for you, because it's a bigger question than a short answer. So on tomorrow, and then the next one is May 19th, I do a 3-hour book kickoff class. It's $365. I would comp you in because you attended today. So if you'd want, so we spent 3 hours with 6 to 10 authors. There's 7 questions you have to answer. You get access to me at, for no charge to bounce all these ideas off. And I think you'd be in a better position to make the decision if that's the right book for you.
Sure. You said tomorrow is
Tomorrow is Friday, right? This is Thursday, right, Devin? Okay, so tomorrow's Friday. Devin, are there any spots open tomorrow?
Yeah, you have a couple.
I have 2 spots open. Thank you. I think you said that last night. Okay, so yeah, so there are spots if you want to do it that fast. It's 9 a.m. to noon Pacific time.
Oh no, I'm Eastern.
So you can approach us offline. So that's noon to 3 Eastern. I don't know where you are. Where are you, Troy?
Oh yeah, I'm Eastern, Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. So noon to 3 p.m. your time.
Oh yeah, that will work actually. Okay, I was thinking reverse. Yeah.
Okay, so let's offline. We'll shoot an email to you and do that.
Yeah.
Devin, if you could handle that, please. Troy in. Okay, thanks. Okay, another question. I see Steve, and then I'll go to Cindy Salicki.
Thanks, Henry. I'm Steve Swadley, author of the forthcoming book, Ignite Your Leadership. And Henry, my question has to do with Amazon reviews. I've done a number of Amazon reviews for some of our indie books. One of the things I've noticed is that sometimes when I do that review, I immediately get a response that says, "Thank you for your review." Sometimes when I do it, I don't see anything, sometimes for days. And there are some reviews that I've done that I've never gotten any feedback on. And I'm wondering, do either you or Devin have any information about why that happens and how to make sure our reviews are indeed going to the authors that we're reviewing?
Thanks for the question, Steve. Devin is the authority on our team for this, and I'm going to let her field the question.
Thanks, Henry. Unfortunately, there's not really a clear answer on this. Amazon is a little cagey when it comes to reviews. They did a really big crackdown maybe about 2-ish years ago because so many people were buying reviews. So they put a lot of like protections in place to prevent that, which was really more about the like high-end ticket items on there, less about books, but it affected all categories, including books. So it goes into a review, and then unfortunately, like you've seen, some get accepted, some don't, and they don't always tell you why something's rejected. It just kind of disappears. So it's a challenge we all have when trying to build up the reviews, because you figure there's going to be a certain percentage that just won't ever make it. I think they've done things like making sure these are real accounts. People, you have to have actually bought from Amazon in the last year and all that kind of thing. As far as what's written in the reviews, it's not very clear if anything's triggers. Of course, I would just try to be mindful of anything that may sound promotional.
Right.
But for the most part, unfortunately, it's just a little bit of a black hole that we don't know.
Would you recommend, if a review doesn't show up, going back and trying a second time? Would that help?
I mean, if you don't get any sort of notification that's explicitly says it was rejected, and if they allow you to submit another one, it's worth a shot.
Okay.
Because sometimes I think it's not a person, it's a computer program,
Right,
scanning these things. So yeah, there's always a chance that, it might get through the second time.
Okay.
And I would change up what you said for the second time to try, because there must be
tweak it a
something
little.
you said the first time that triggered the algorithm to reject it.
Okay, good idea. All right. Well, and I asked the question because I've had it happen a couple times, and most recently with Gene Wright's most recent book, which thumbs up, Gene, great job.
Thank you.
I will, if I don't get some kind of notice in another day or two, I'll go back and I'll shoot another one out, see what happens. Change the wording a little bit.
Thanks, Dr. Steve. And now let's go to arguably America's leading rhetoric expert, Cindy.
Hi, everybody. I am Cindy Skalicki, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Henry, thanks for hosting this. Henry, my question, so I am an executive communications coach, background in rhetoric, and I built a model called How To, which is an acronym, and it guides people to near perfection in their messaging and organizing it structurally. So it really has the audience 100% at the center of your messaging. And so Henry was kind enough to share that model with others through an article he wrote for me about a year ago. And we talked then about book writing, which I wasn't prepared for yet, but I'm pretty close now because of the power of the model as I've brought it into corporate environments. Henry, I'd like to hear a little more about maybe some guide, like process, the process of working with I think it's called the developmental editor that you mentioned, first time author here. So you know, Henry, I have droves of content, webinars, interviews, do you interview people? Can you expand a little just in general?
Sure. Well, the process begins with the same agenda for that class. There's 7 questions you need to answer before you can write a book. And we need to go over there. The question number 1 is, who is the reader? Yep. And I want to get really specific on that. And then, and everybody is not the right answer there, by the way.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And then the next thing is, what is the problem you solve for those people? And a lot of times during the session, people will say something like, oh, well, I give them a tool that helps them increase acceptance rates, for their presentations. I said, that's not a problem. You stated the outcome.
Right.
You start with the problem in the language of the prospect. Jamie Shibley's working on a book, and she made a breakthrough this month on her who, and focused on the who. And now it's the step of, and how do they describe the problem the book solves? Not what you tell them their problem is. To attract readers, we have to say the problem in their language. Then working with a developmental editor, there are other questions I work with people on, like, is this book going to be new information on a subject, more information on a subject, different information on a subject, or better information? You have to make that decision. Is this, you
can't pick all of them?
Well, that's called a quadraphonic schizophrenic answer.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Fair
enough. If you think niching down is hard on that who question, yeah, the information question is hard for people.
Okay.
Cindy, you want to take the more better option, right?
Right.
More better. Yeah, the 5th one. It's a more better option.
The yes and.
Yes and. So then that dictates also what type of story you're telling. There's 8 overarching stories. Is this a problem solution book, otherwise known as a monster problem? Is this a quest for a prize book, also known as a journey? Is it a rebirth, comeback, redemption story? So once you have that, you can do the table of contents. So the developmental editor is walking you through. Then each chapter has a different job to do and a suggested formula. So the developmental editor helps you with that. Then you take the first pass at writing it, and the developmental editor gives you feedback about what's working, what's not working, and you don't rewrite the chapter then. You just save those notes and go on to the next chapter, because your job is to get the sloppy first copy done, which is our way of saying the rough draft where you got it out of your mind and onto paper.
Yeah.
Or electrons. I know we're on the screen.
Right.
For those who are literal with me.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
What's the next level where I say, here, take all this stuff and transcribe it, and then we work more? What's the next level? I don't have time right now to write this, and that's part of my problem. It's needed out there in the world, and I have all this content that I could throw through Otter and have it transcribe it. I've delivered this model hundreds of times. I know what the general outline of the book should be. It's going to be to CEOs. It's going to be one of those thin ones you said we need to write, ride an airplane and read it.
So we do offer, we offer a service, I imagine anybody would, which is between developmental editing and ghostwriting. So it's not the full ghostwriting boat, but we take content. So example, Henry Hutchison out of South Carolina, an expert in helping family businesses. He's written articles and blogs on family business. And he goes, here, make it into a book. I give it the name, The Dirty Little Secrets of Family Business. I organize it into a book. I do connective tissue on it, which is the leads that hook people in and the segues to take you to the next chapter. He approves it, we publish the book. That's something that's in between those two. And Bruce Werner, who writes for Forbes and runs a business, and he's used that. He's on his second book and has ordered a third book for that kind of program. So it's the halfway between developmental editor and ghostwriter.
Thanks. And I think you and I are talking next week, so we'll talk more.
I will hopefully say the same thing.
I know, but we'll go deeper on that. No, thank you for that. I'm going to be off camera, making my way down to the hotel lobby to keep listening to all the brilliance that everybody is asking about. So thanks.
Before you go, you have an important message that needs to get out there, Cindy.
Thank you.
Not with us, with somebody. You need. That's
what I keep hearing. That's why I'm on this call. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Jean Wright, please.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jean Wright with my new book, Selling Your Confidence, and it came out last week. I help women become and feel more confident about selling, and I'm getting great reviews. My question to Devin would be about Amazon. It's an exciting place to be right now, especially last week when I saw I was #1 in a number of different categories. And is that because people are actually looking at those categories to find the book? Like when it says sales and selling techniques and home-based business, that sort of thing. Is that how you get put in the category?
Yeah, so when we set up the book, we assign it some categories.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me that.
The highest level. So every book has like a primary and a secondary category, and those are typically kind of the high level ones. So sales and selling in your case. And then under those, they have kind of breakdown categories and subcategories. So then we try to find some of those ones that match. And it's a combination of us and Amazon's algorithm taking over once the book is live, because it does a few things. So it scans the book description, the contents, all of that. So it's looking for keywords. And then we give them a list of, these are the categories we think make the most sense. And then after that, it's people's buying behaviors. So what they're searching, all of that.
Right. Okay.
So for yours, we concentrated on some of there's like women in business categories as well that it seemed to fit well in. And then within selling, things like home-based businesses, because you have chapters on Pampered Chef and things like that. So that's what we were looking to. So now, yes, as people, you can kind of shop two ways on Amazon. I think a lot of people just search they're searching for topics, but then also they can browse. So yeah, they can go and kind of start searching, and as they click through categories, they'll get shown each of the subcategories. So yeah, that's a little bit of what we do for when we're preparing for launch of all the books, is try to figure out where best to merchandise the book and where we can get it to fit. Because of course you want it in the high level categories, but if you can also be in some of the niche categories, it's much easier to get seen in those categories.
Right. Yeah, I saw another one that came up was customer care. And I thought, oh, okay, that sounds good, because there's a lot in there about that, but it was that was a good category for that to show up at and another day I saw that. So it's pretty exciting to see how that all works. I was listening to something about how to use your keywords and your description properly. And I'm thinking that's what they're talking about, is the description of the book on Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. And the keywords like selling or women or sales or whatever, those are the words that will pull the book just from that description, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah. So
Devin, I'd like to pile on this.
Okay.
Because yeah, those keywords and descriptions, also you're choosing your subtitle is about keywords.
Right.
Where we don't get, we prefer clarity over cleverness in a subtitle. And a lot of it has to do with SEO on Amazon. To build off of something Devin said, I thought if I could share some data with you, it might help you on your journeys. Of the books in a typical bookstore, let's say a Barnes & Noble, 4% are business books. So are you with me? So we're 1 in 20 books. And that's where we chose to niche, but we niched farther down in that we help trusted advisors, which tend to be agencies, strategic consultants, executive coaches, so a level down. Now, but coming up, other publishers much bigger than us that I interviewed, they gave me their top 3 books they're always looking for. And these are the big categories that Devin said. Business book publishers, the number one thing they're looking for are sales books, sales and selling, Gene. That's why I was excited about you when you entered our world. 50 million people in the United States make their living from sales. Next category, second category is marketing. And the reason marketing is it's about revenue. And every business is interested in increasing revenue. So as marketing experts like Claire, Craig, I would put you more as a selling expert. You're in that number 1 category. Jamie, I think you're in this marketing category. And it's has many things. I'm writing about customer care these days as part of marketing. I'm writing about customer experience as part of marketing. There's a lot of components that all add up to this. How do we increase revenues? Number 3 is leadership, which is about the main topic now is attracting and retaining top employees. That was according to the Conference Board survey of 1,600 C-level executives. It's their number 1 concern in the C-suite is not what strategy we use. It's how do we get and keep good people to execute the strategies. And the C-suite talks about the runway problem. They're like trying to get a cargo plane off a runway before it hits the trees. People have also told me about the closing door. They're trying to get through or closing window. But I always think of Indiana Jones, trying to outrun that big ball, and he's got to slide through some door that's coming down. That's what C-level executives feel like. We've got to get through there in time or we're going to get crushed. So we've got to, but we need the people to do it. And oh, what were they complaining to me the other night? Oh, they don't want to come back to work. You know, they got, once they found out how great it was to work from home, we can't get them back to come back. Yeah, that's right. So you're going to figure out new ways. That's in the leadership category. These are also where the speaking opportunities are. Sales, marketing, leadership. As you get farther down, because you say, well, isn't it about profit? Well, a lot of the profit speakers are about how to reduce expenses. They don't get a lot of traction. People are like, yeah, that's not sexy or exciting. How do we redo our cell phone contracts? You know, yeah, that does add money to it. I know it. It's not a topic that anybody wants to book a speaker on. The speaking money is about you coming in and getting everybody excited to open a meeting or to close a meeting. And authors who are experts who can elicit emotions like bring a tear to the eye, make people laugh, feel noble, in addition to making people think, they make the 5 to 10, 7,500 to 15,000. Some of our speakers at 10 to 20,000. Through working with us, they're up at that level. So that's kind of the game. And thanks for the trigger question. Craig Lauder, and then we'll go to Elias.
My name's Craig Lauder, and my first book, as you can see on the screen, is entitled Smooth Selling Forever, and that was written in 2016. I am very honored right now to be co-authoring a book with one Mr. Henry DeVries. He's awesome. The question I have, Henry and Devin, it's really a three-part question. How does one identify whether or not co-authoring makes sense for their next book? How do you go about identifying a potential co-author? And thirdly, what expectations should one have about working with a co-author?
Okay, I can take this. So, and I've been a yenta for somebody on this call to hook them up with another co-author. You know, you and I talked and I agreed to it. So it's a process because, and HR doesn't like me to use terms like courting and wooing, but you're looking for a relationship here that's going to last for years. So the reason for doing it is great. You split the cost and you split the workload. The caveat, and I have a monograph if anybody wants it on how to structure these deals. Somebody has to be the 51% partner because decisions will have to be made. And I've seen horrible things when people are 50-50. You can block each other from using the book for marketing other than just saying you're the author of the book. So you don't want to have that. Somebody needs to be in control. And the lead author is the person who has the top name on it. So it is a process of building relationships. I always say, look within the community here that we built first. Like you, Craig, I have a 23-point profile of my perfect fit. And some people have said, you know, your authors, they seem like they're kind of different. They're all, I said, they're all abundance thinkers. I don't care what religion, but they're all spiritual. I don't care what religion, but there's something that they believe in a higher power. Even if they're atheists, they believe in something that shapes things. So there's those commonalities that that same profile you have for your clients. Think about it for the co-author. And was there a third part of the question that I missed?
You kind of answered them all together as, one, you know what makes sense to have an author? How do you identify that co-author? And third, what to expect around working with one, which I believe you've already addressed.
Yeah, in the monograph, I also talk about the different ways you write. One way is I write, and then I give it to you, and then you write. Or we divide the book in half. You write these chapters, I write these chapters. And then there's a third way where You interview me. This might be Troy's still there. You know, you interview me. I give you a lot of information. I quote you in the book, but I'm the lead author, and it's the voices for mine. So if anybody's really interested, I would give them that monograph free of charge. So Elias, I'm going to thank you for the question, Craig. Elias, I'm going to move to you. Did you have a question?
I do. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me this afternoon. This has been such an awesome session, getting to hear everybody's questions and stories. It is a lot of information for this hopeful first-time book author. And we have gone from my having a question, which was answered while you were talking to Sandy, to me coming up with another question, which was just answered in one of the previous responses, to my having come up with now a third question. So the book is kind of immaterial. So let's like shelve that for the moment, assuming it all goes well and good and I get this amazing book and people love it and it's awesome. One thing that I'm finding I have a knack for is speaking, education, and getting people excited. I accidentally found myself into creating and implementing a workshop the last 3 months for copywriters who were having a hard time trying to break into the marketing space. The final session was emotional. Everyone was so excited. They had all these wonderful tools. They're hitting the ground running, having sales conversations. They were terrified. So all this wonderful stuff has come about. And you said something that just made me think, well, wow, I never really considered that.
Elias, I feel a question is coming. Why don't we get to the question?
So coming, you said, if you work with us, you somehow enable speaking careers. So speak to me a little bit about life after a book and how that potential relationship can kind of dovetail into a speaking career.
Sure. And I don't mean to be selling on these calls, but so I will tell you.
I'm in. I'm curious. I'm asking you directly. Give me the good stuff.
So we're a school in disguise as a publishing company.
Yeah.
So we train experts how to leverage a book. Our motto is publishing the book is the starting line.
Yeah.
The school goes on from there. And we have different ways we train, both virtually and once we get together in person for a big networking thing with the family. But here's my magnificent 7 ways to market the book. Most involve speaking. Number 1, you put on your own small scale seminar events. This Q&A is a small scale seminar showcase. We're building community. None of these ideas, by the way, were original from us. They're all R&D. We've robbed and duplicated great ideas from other people that's working. So the Q&A is really working. It's much more interactive for building a community. We want you to do the same thing. Or we want you to do a 45-minute interactive session with people, and you might have 5 to 10 on the call, and you help them. That's the best thing you can do. I've written about it extensively. Number 2, you get booked on other people's stages. And today those stages include podcasts. Podcasts are the best publicity out there. And this is from somebody who used to be the president of a PR agency. They're the best thing you can do. A podcast appearance is a gift that keeps giving. And I get clients when I go on podcasts. And Jamie's having me on her podcast next week. I'm so excited.
I was just going to say, hey, he's going to come talk all about this on my Q&A next Tuesday. So if you're available for that, you can keep that conversation going.
Send me an email. Let's do it. I'm in.
But you're changing things in, link in with each other, do all that stuff. Unlike the comedian Lily Tomlin, who said, we're all in this alone, I really believe we're all in this together. Okay, so that's the second thing. And there's also stages you need to get on. I just co-authored a book, 24 Ways to Get Paid to Speak. And Nona Prather, who is our expert on our faculty for getting paid to speak, she runs an agency where she helps get speakers booked for professional gigs. If you get on our list, the free tips list, you'll get invited to buy that book for 99 cents and all our books for 99 cents on opening week. So this is not about the money you're going to spend. And if you could leave an honest review, that would help the author. So the third best thing to do is get published. And with our LinkedIn expert, Troy's taking a call right now, I believe, for the client, he said. But we're big on a weekly LinkedIn newsletter. We're big on using LinkedIn to get people to attend. I write about LinkedIn a lot in Forbes.com. Very hot topic. Okay, and then the next things are, what are these other events, other people's Q&As? Jamie has a Q&A. I'm on her Q&A whenever it can. Another firm we know, Predictive ROI, has different Q&As every month. We try to get on them as many times. We include just asking a question. You just had a showcase speaking experience, and we let you put your information in the box. We let you network with other people. You just moved your business a little forward today with this appearance. So you look for other things like that. And then my Hall of Fame speakers from the National Speakers Association, they tell me the best thing they do to get booked is to do a lot of YouTube videos, clips of them speaking, short videos, sizzle reel videos on YouTube, because people use YouTube as the search engine these days half the time. And so they're Googling the topic. And if they're looking for a speaker, the first thing they do is not go to a speaking agency. They Google, well, they YouTube, they search on YouTube for speakers. 70% of the buyer's journey to book you as a speaker is already done before they start talking to, well, we got 3 people, we're talking to you and 2 others. They already sorted you out through YouTube, because they want to see you and say, he will not embarrass me. She will not embarrass me when I put them on stage. My boss is not going to be mad at me for booking them. The client's not going to be mad for booking them. I vetted them through YouTube. It's the world we live in. So there you go. And then we train and teach all parts of those things. If people need heavy lifting, like running small scale seminars, Devin came up with a program. It's like 2. I've never said it to Devin, but it reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Brooklyn. And it's about this Irish immigrant coming to America in the 50s. And this Italian immigrant, the son of Italian immigrants, asks her out to go to a movie date. And she says, I will give you 2 movie dates. The first movie date in case the movie isn't good. So there'll be a second date to make sure what we're going on. I thought, Devin's like that. I'll do 2 events for you and train you how to do this. And then, I'm going to set you free into the wild, and you're going to do these events on your own. And the reason is because you're going to get ROI that way. If you have to keep paying people for a lot of help, doesn't make sense. If you pay people to teach you a system that is proven and works and you can replicate it, it's a great investment. Hope I didn't go too detailed on you. I see we're almost out of time. I could take one more question. Oh, Claire's had her hand up. Claire is our Smart Marketing Execution faculty member here. Claire, how can I help?
Thank you, Henry. I appreciate the time. I have a question on getting additional and better reviews for your book. So when my book first came out, thank you very much, October 22nd, very exciting time, and did get some good reviews. Would like to continue to enlarge my set of reviews. So wondering if, like we did for the book blurbing, if it's an idea to go to people and say, hey, would you like to do a review, and maybe give them a sample review to play off of, or just how would you do it?
Yeah. Devin, would you like to field that? No, Devin doesn't want to field that. I will. Yes, I prime the pump for reviews. I send out 3 or 4 ones for food for thought. You might want to say something like this. We do that mainly to get testimonial blurbs. I did a campaign for one of my books because I had 2 reviews. And I thought like, oh, this isn't good for the publisher to talk about how important this is, and never did the campaign. It was the cobbler's children's syndrome, where we were so busy getting reviews for everybody else. I forgot to do it for my own book. So I did a campaign and I asked for personal favors from 20 people to do it. Sometimes we'll go back in and lower the price to 99 cents for the Kindle for, after the launch for like for 2 weeks, so we can get our people to try to go there and do this. I even had some success before the algorithm changed, where people who didn't buy the book on Amazon but said they bought the book or had the book because I gifted them the book, went on, and some of those reviews stuck. So those are all different ways you do it. As Devin said, there are black arts ways to do it too. We don't recommend those, but basically you're buying reviews.
Thank you,
We
Henry.
don't recommend it.
Thank you.
We're not those people. Okay, thanks everybody for being on the Q&A. The next Q&A is May 4th. Devin and I are big Star Wars fans, so may the 4th be with you on that day. And it's usually it's a holiday at Indie Books, but we're only taking half a day off to celebrate Star Wars on May the 4th. We're going to do this as our regularly scheduled time. If there's an odd question you have, ask. If you are part of the Indie Books family, know that every week at this time, when we're not doing the Q&A, Devin and I are having office hours, and you can pop in and ask a question. Until then, look forward to seeing you on another Q&A. Thanks everybody for joining.